Comments are these. I believe Western civilization today will ultimately only be rescued if it reaffirms its religious roots. That means reaffirming Christianity as the basis of Western civilization, and it means that Christianity, in turn, must reaffirm its roots in the Hebrew Bible. Many church leaders, especially in Britain, flinch from delivering a robust religious message because they think it's simply impossible to counter the evidence of materialism and the attractions of hedonistic lifestyles with the unprovable mysteries of religious faith. Well, I think that's the wrong way to approach this. And I'm a Jewish person, and Judaism comes at all this from a very different position. It starts from doing rather than believing. The belief is embedded in the doing, but it's the doing that binds us to the belief system, if you see what I mean. And I think that that's a much better way of approaching this in these very difficult times, because, as I've suggested, our secular age has not renounced spirituality. What it's done is renounced Christianity, it's renounced biblical religion, and that has sent it down what I consider to be an unhealthy and absurd cul-de-sac in its unending spiritual quest. But there is a spiritual quest. People are yearning for meaning to their lives. And so, they are subscribing to all these ridiculous beliefs, parapsychology, healing crystals, voodoo, paganism, all the rest of it. Well, if people are going to believe in 6 impossible things before breakfast, wouldn't it be a good idea if they believed in the 6 impossible things that actually brought some benefit to the world, instead of the 6 impossible things that are going to benefit nobody? The way to approach people is surely to answer their yearning for meaning. And that, I would suggest, means not pinning everything on belief in supernatural events, not pinning everything on the need to adhere to the letter of moral rules, nor pinning everything on the need to observe all the religious rituals. All those things are all important, but I would suggest they're secondary. It comes later, after the explanation to people of why what the Bible contains is so important to people's lives, their happiness, and their welfare. People need to be made aware that the values they most deeply cherish in the West, reason, rationality, conscience, the dignity of every human being, making the world a better place, all those good things. People need to be made aware that these things come from the Bible, and that without the Bible, those values will disappear. They need to be made aware that it is the Bible that is the foundation stone of science, and that the Bible's governing idea that the origin of everything lies in a mystery that by definition exists beyond the reach of science is the least unlikely explanation. They need to be shown how attaching themselves to these values can enrich their own lives. And to use this approach, which is most likely to penetrate and undermine the secularists' own defences, I would suggest the Christian churches have to explicitly reconnect to and reaffirm their roots in the Hebrew Bible. They have to reaffirm their links to Judaism, the parent religion, which so many churches, particularly in Britain, have preferred to push aside. And you only have to look at what's happened as a result, the differences between Britain and Europe on the one hand and America on the other, to see what's happened in practice. In Britain and in Europe, where the churches have largely lost their connection with Judaism and the Hebrew Bible, the origin of it all, these churches are also correspondingly exceptionally hostile to Jewish peoplehood in the State of Israel, by the way. In those churches, their pews are largely empty, Christianity is dying, and their civilization dying with it. In America, in the great central heartlands, filled with scripturally faithful churches, bursting with energy, these churches, I would suggest, are forming a bulwark in the titanic fight that is now underway against secular ideologies. These churches have an uphill struggle, to put it mildly, but at least they are taking the fight to the enemy, because without that connection with Judaism, Christianity is nothing. Without the connection to the Hebrew Bible, Christianity is nothing. And without Christianity, the West will become something very different indeed from what we understand it to be. The key to the defense of the West lies in the religion that underpins it. And the key to enlisting the army that will defend it lies in the roots of that religion that underpins it. It's very simple. All that's needed is the will to see it. Thank you very much.